Most hens only lay eggs well for their first 2 to 3 years of life, but chickens can live 8 years sometimes, even older in some instances. So why would you keep your hens in the flock until they get older and older when they don't lay eggs as well? Well, today that's what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about the reasons why keeping your hens, even when they're not laying eggs so well anymore, really adds value to your flock as a whole. In a commercial egg-laying situation, the hens are only kept for 18 months to 2 years at a push because that is when they are at their most productive. And the same is true for the chickens we keep in our backyards. Even if they are a heritage breed, they are still the most productive in their first and second seasons of laying. So by the time they're 2.5, 3 years old, they're starting to slow down in the egg-laying department. So what is the point of keeping them in your flock? Now, if your only reason to have a chicken flock is to give you eggs, then there probably isn't a point for you in keeping them in your flock, and you can move them on in whatever way that works for you. But if you are having a flock of chickens for all the wonderful, wonderful reasons that one can keep chickens, then keeping older hens in your flock can be a fantastic idea. Older hens carry the knowledge of the flock. They understand how things are done around here, your situation, wherever they have been raised. They understand the environment, how the season works, what foods are available, and what people and predators and all of that come around. In my flock, the hens know which of the cats that cruise around are problematic and which ones aren't, and so they react differently. If you're constantly bringing in completely new chickens, all of that knowledge has to be reset from square one. But if you're keeping some of your older hens, then they teach that information to the new chickens you have coming on, particularly in this situation where I raise all of my chickens up from chicks. The older hens are just a wealth of knowledge. They bring the culture of the flock and they pass it on to the next generation. And speaking of the next generation, older hens can make the best mothers. I have some hens in my flock that are coming up on 5 years old now, some are older as well, but they can be the absolute best mothers. They are hens that have already raised many, many clutches of chicks. I know the hens that are really good at it, and I know the hens that are kind of average at it. And I can keep giving eggs to raise to those hens that I know are just fantastic mothers. So they're super valuable. If I have constantly new young hens, I don't know if they're going to be great mothers. Now, most of my chickens are pretty good mothers, but some are excellent and some are just okay. None of them are bad, but some do a fantastic job of raising chicks really, really well. And they are going to keep doing that for me, even if they're not laying very many eggs anymore. So my older hens absolutely have a place in being the mothers of the new chickens that come into my flock each year. And for that, you just can't beat a hen. The experience that she brings to that job, and you and her have a relationship together in that regard. You're not having to restart it from scratch with a new hen every single time. She will come to understand that you're there to help her. She's not going to worry too much if you need to come and do things with her or help her with the chicks or move the chicks. She's going to be chill about it. If you're starting from scratch with a new mother every time, then she doesn't have that relationship with you, and she might get aggressive with you, or she might make your job harder while you're trying to make her job easier. So that is my top reason why keeping older hens is good. They make the best mothers. If you have roosters in your flock, and particularly if you raise up younger roosters or you're bringing in a younger rooster with the hopes of him becoming your flock rooster, having older hens is absolutely essential in my opinion, because what they do is they hold the line with any young roosters until that rooster is ready to actually take on his job as the big man. They will teach him to be respectful. They will teach him how to behave properly with the hens. If you only have younger hens, the same age as the rooster, or only slightly older or younger, which is more problematic, then they don't have sort of the confidence in themselves to tell him just to cut it out. But your older hens, your matriarchs of the flock, shall we say, they will absolutely make sure that any roosters in your flock are behaving themselves. And then they will, once they decide that the rooster is ready to actually be the boss, they will let him be the boss and everything will just continue on smoothly. But if you only have younger birds in your flock, then you're not going to get that smooth transition. There's going to be a lot more fighting, a lot more chaos happening. When you've got those older hens in the flock, they keep everything chill and peaceful. The relationship that you have with your flock is something I want to highlight here, because while you have a relationship with your whole flock, you also have a relationship with each individual chicken that is in the flock. And those older hens are going to have a longer relationship with you, the longer that they have been there, and that is obvious. But it is something worth thinking about because, you know, I get attached to some of the chickens in my flock, and they understand that I am there to just hang with them, to help them. They don't go flapping off in a panic. They're just chill. They're just hanging. Whereas the younger hens, it takes them longer to realize that. And over time, they learn that from the older hens. So everyone can just be chill. So it's totally fine to keep older hens in your flock just because you like them and they like you. It's not doing any harm so long as you've got the space to keep the chickens. I think that chickens are really useful to a backyard situation, even if they're not laying any eggs. I've said before that I would keep chickens even if they didn't lay any eggs because of all the other benefits that they provide to the environment, for helping me with the gardening and for making their chicken yard compost, all of these things, pest control, things like that. And it doesn't matter whether they're an old hen or a young one for that situation. And the older hens often know the best spots. They're often the best at ripping the garden to shreds when I actually want them to do that. They're the best at finding the bugs and knowing where those things are, and they teach the other hens. So it's really, really beneficial to just have them knowing what they're doing, showing everybody else. And a chicken doesn't cost very much individually to feed. Here I've worked out that each chicken costs about $1.25 a week to feed. And right now that's okay with me. They can stick around and live out their hen retirement. They have worked hard. They've laid lots of eggs for me. They're still raising babies for me even now. So I think it's totally great to keep those older hens in the flock. Don't let people convince you that it's a terrible idea or a waste of space and money. They absolutely bring value in and of themselves just to keep hanging out there.